Good morning. Welcome to Saturday Morning Coffee. My name is Lance McKinnon, and as always, I'm here with my one and only partner, Tiffany Linderman. Good morning, Tiffany. How are you?
Cheers. I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing absolutely wonderful this Saturday. I'm joining my Fifth Acres Coffee from Good Brothers Cafe in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Always delicious. If you don't got a bag, get a bag. You order it online. So that's all I'm doing today. Enjoying the nice weather finally.
Absolutely. I have a bag set in my cabinet too, so I'm all set.
All
Gotta
right.
get myself piped up on my coffee, but
So,
um, it's
so if
beautiful.
I run low, I'm going to steal some of yours.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that.
Okay. All right. So is it just us today? Because we can just go back and forth all the time.
Yes, we do. But I absolutely am so excited because we have such an exciting guest today. And I am going to pronounce the name correctly. Have faith in me. It is not the way it reads, okay? It's Jeff Bianchi. Hey, Jeff.
Good
Hey, how's it
morning. Good
going?
morning, Jeff
Good
Bianchi.
morning.
Yes, yes, yes. And I love the last name because it has Yankee in it. And so, as a New Yorker, I got anything with Yankee in it, I'm down with. So, but thank you for taking your time. We know that you're extremely busy, and I'll let you go ahead and kind of just dive into your story, who you are, because, like I said, we want to tell the whole world. If not, otherwise I'll be the spoiler, uh, and I can be. You've spent 17 years in the world of baseball,
Correct.
uh, many years in the big leagues, uh, and then working your through way through the ranks. And now you're in a position, but you're also doing so much more. But go ahead. Now that I spoiled it, but yeah, dive in, Jeff.
No, I appreciate you having me on and excited to be able to share my story and just to be with you here. This is great. So my name is Jeff Bianchi, Bianchi. There you go, Yankee, right? Even though, I did play for the Red Sox, but I will say Bianchi.
Yeah, and
So
and I'm glad that the one your Major League Baseball card is not the year that you're with the Red Sox. So, but thank you very much.
you got it. You got it. So, quick background on myself. I am born and raised in Lancaster County. I grew up in Lancaster, graduated from Lampeter Strasburg High School in 2005. And at that time, I before graduating, I played many sports, right? Like that's what I did as a kid, is what my family did. I have an older brother, younger sister. We always competed. We always wanted to be the best. And later on in high school, I realized that, you know what, kind of want to start taking baseball seriously. So that's what I did. In 2005, I was planning to go to college and got the opportunity to be drafted by the Kansas City Royals in the second round, and decided, you know what, now's the time, to start my professional baseball playing career. And so I did. At that time, I had flown out to Arizona. I'm 18 years old, and I'm starting life, right? Just right out of high school. And at that time I was dating my now wife. Her name is Nicole. She's been with me since high school. So we are high school sweethearts. But I got started on this journey in professional baseball. And so for 12 years, I played professionally. If you're not familiar with how baseball works, um, when you sign with an organization, there are levels that you need to climb up before you get to the big leagues. And at that time when I was drafted, there was like 7 different levels. So you start out in, most of the time, what's called rookie ball, the lowest level possible. If you're fortunate enough, you make it out of there into single A. There's 2 levels of single A, low A, high A, double A, triple A from there. And then finally the big leagues, if you get to, that far of experience that. So I made my way up, from the bottom to the big leagues with the Kansas City Royals. I spent 7 years there, made it to double A. And then from there, I went to the Milwaukee Brewers in 2012. In 2012, I started the season in double A again, went to triple A for the first time. And then at the All-Star break in July, I made my major league debut with the Milwaukee Brewers. So
That's awesome. Because the baseball, I find that is probably like the hardest sport to like break into. There's so many dreamers there, but congratulations for making it to the big leagues because the percentage of that in itself is it's a blessing that God gave you. So let
yeah,
me interrupt. I wanted to give you
no,
credit.
absolutely. Anytime. Yeah, I mean, I can remember that day pretty clearly still. I was with my wife. We were actually in Alabama, I believe, when we had a couple of days off for the All-Star break, and my manager, AAA manager, called me and said, "Hey, you're heading to the big leagues, pack your bags." And so we went, made my debut against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I struck out my first at bat, unfortunately. I went 0 for my first 15. I got sent down before being called back up and getting my first hit, but yeah, quite a ride. So I spent 3 years with the Milwaukee Brewers. From there, I spent 1 year with the Boston Red Sox, not the New York Yankees, but the Red Sox for 1 year in 2015.
We all make mistakes.
That's part of the way we learn, right? Making
Yeah,
mistakes.
yeah, exactly.
And then in 2016 was my last year playing, which was spent in AAA with the Colorado Rockies. We went through a process there towards the end of my career, trying to figure out if we wanted to keep playing, if we had an opportunity, do we want to retire? Ended up deciding that after the 2016 season, it was time to retire. My career was injury filled, and we can get into that in a little bit as well if you want, but it was time. My wife was pregnant with our second at the time. And so after the 2016 season, dealing with many injuries, we just kind of felt like it was time. So I scouted for 4 years. I landed a job with the Milwaukee Brewers scouting for 4 years. And then last year was my first year with the Lancaster Barnstormers as the hitting coach, which I will be back with them again this year as the hitting coach for a second season with the Lancaster Barnstormers. So 17 seasons in professional baseball after graduating high school. And here we are, talking this morning. So
That's absolutely awesome, and I know that your um, season was a lot of injury filled and so forth like that. But what kept you going? And I know you and I've had conversations and we've talked, but faith is one of the things that kept you grounded throughout. Can we touch on how your faith helped you throughout this whole process?
absolutely. I'm excited to share this, part of it. Growing up, you know, I had a background in Christianity, in church. I grew up going to church, because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. My parents were very faithful in going to church, and so that's what I did. But it kind of stopped there. And to be honest with you, there wasn't much depth when I went to church. And in high school, I really felt like there was this piece missing. Like, I'm going to church, I'm doing this. I feel like I'm a good person, right? Like, I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't, get in too much trouble. But I always kind of felt like there was something missing. And so I have, which I still pretty much regularly keep in touch with, a group of friends who are also other Christian believers. And it was really in high school when I started understanding and looking in, to myself, what is this whole concept of being a Christian? What does this mean to follow Jesus? And, I started reading my Bible more. I met my wife. We started dating in high school. She has been awesome, very supportive. It takes a special woman to be in baseball, to be in sports in general. And she's been with me since the very, very beginning, and owe a lot of credit to her. But my faith in Christ is really what sustained me, through not just the highs, but the lows too. So it came to a point where I feel like I don't have this one magic day or moment where I was like this aha moment. I understand, right? It was like a process to really know who Jesus was, and to put my trust and faith in him, to follow him. So I dealt with a lot of injuries in my career from the very first year that I was drafted and playing in 2005 when I was in Arizona. I hurt my back. I was playing really well. I was doing really well. I come out of high school, and when you start having the success, I remember times where I'm looking on the computer and looking with my wife, like, okay, when am I going to get to the big leagues? How fast am I going to get there? This is easy. I'm going to kind of carve my own path, right? And I got hurt right away. The next year, I hurt my shoulder. I had season-ending shoulder surgery. I had elbow surgery in 2010 that I missed the whole season. And within those 12 years of playing, 10 out of those 12 years, I spent time on the disabled list. It's not called the injured list, but the disabled list, where I physically couldn't play. And there were some, difficult moments in that. I think if I have to hold on to one verse in those moments, I always go back to James in the beginning of the first chapter, and starting in verse 2, where it says, "Consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and perseverance must finish its course." It just doesn't stop. It's got to finish, so that you may be complete and mature and not lacking anything. So I think in those times, as hard as it was as a competitor, as an athlete, to not compete and be with my teammates, to go out there, it gave me a chance to step back and realize, you know what? I'm not here just to play baseball. I'm here for the guys around me. Yes, you're helping them get better. You're trying to move up the ranks, but my purpose is also to share Christ with these guys. So it actually gave me a chance to slow things down and possibly even share, the gospel with them more than when I was playing, because I had the time to. I wasn't able to play, so I was talking with the guys more about Christ. So, just a neat opportunity in baseball that I experienced. And, the injuries were hard, but when looking back, you go through the fire for a reason, and I can look back and know that I was strengthened through those times.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point. We all carve our own paths, and the younger youth and everything like that. Say it's not easy, and we all have this crystal ball of saying how our life is going to look.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I wanted to play professional football, but now I sit here with two titanium knees or two titanium legs, and but it also like I said, during those injuries, I remember my coach gave me a book, Pickle, I Am Third, and it took me a long time to realize that that injury happened for a reason. It changed the course of who I am today. Had I gone on and not got injured and moved on, and hopefully would have made it into the pros, I could be a different person. But that injury, God had placed it for a purpose and for a reason. And then once I read that book, probably had to read it 3 or 4 times, because back then they just didn't release you from the hospital over the next day. I think I was there for like 2 weeks with 3 stations on the channel, so I had nothing better to do. But then I realized I am third. Jesus, others, and then yourself. For those that understand, and it was a great story about Gail Sayers and Brian Pickle,
Awesome.
which is an absolutely phenomenal story of where you're going with that. So, so your injury was actually a kind of a blessing in a disguise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I look back and, who knows where I would have been if the injuries wouldn't have happened. I thank the Lord that I went through them. They're hard. I still deal with them, after, 12 years of playing. But, during those times, your faith is tested, right? And it allowed me the opportunity to say, okay, what is my faith in? What is my trust in? Is it in baseball? Is it things that are going to be here today and gone tomorrow? Or is it in Jesus, who's, forever? And a quick story about when I got to the big leagues, as exciting as it was, I had this kind of expectation, and that, I had baseball on a pedestal, really. And the thought process was, if I get to the big leagues, when I get there, all my problems are going to go away. Things are going to be easy. I'm in the big league, fulfilling a dream that I've always had as a little kid. And to be honest with you, it was quite the opposite. Like it made me realize that I'm putting too much of my eggs in one basket of baseball and not in the Lord. And as a result, it was extremely stressful. I didn't want to be there. And after 2 weeks, I was sent back down to AAA of the minor leagues, where I felt like I got to catch my breath a little bit, reset before going back, being called back to the big leagues and trying it again. The first time around the big leagues, it made me realize that, that's not what fulfills you, only the Lord, right? Like, is what can truly fulfill you. So.
Tiffany's got a question.
I'm just filled with so much joy hearing you say all that, because I think a lot of things, not, it could be sports in the big leagues, but there's a lot of things that we put on pedestals and we just think if we get there, it's going to be amazing. And so I love how you share that story of your faith and God through all of that whole journey. And it makes me even think about when you said when you finally found your faith. I think for a lot of, I'm going to just relate to youth in this sense, because I think that you feel like it's going to be this like switch that just flips, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there was a miraculous moment. I believe in God. And it was like this huge thing, but it takes time and really understanding and learning. And I love how you finally you got there and you understood that how much you needed God in your life and that he was going to be there for you. But I was very curious through your journey when you were running into the different injuries and setbacks. And, we can say setbacks, obviously they were different opportunities for your life, right? But in those moments, I can imagine, especially being so young, going into, you said you went into in Arizona, when you started there, when you started having some of those setbacks and being so young, that was your future. How are you feeling in those times, having those type of struggles and what that was going to mean for you?
They were very difficult, because like I said, one of the struggle was I was trying to carve out my own path. And then when you don't have control of that, it's difficult. And especially at a young age where you're trying to figure out things, you're just thrown into life. There was a lot of growing up to do. There was a lot of immaturity there, physically, spiritually, that I needed to learn and grow through. And, as I started making my way from rookie ball, low A, high A, double A, all the way up to the big leagues, there were times I remember laying in bed with my wife and saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I was, entertaining the idea of going back to college and giving this up completely, because it was difficult. You're gone all year, you're away from your family, your friends at home, when I was injured and not playing, it's challenging. And, it's hard for me I was one of the, before knowing Christ, I was doing life on my own. Right. Now that I know the joy that comes in knowing the Lord, like, I can't imagine people going through that alone and not knowing the hope that you have in Christ. And so my wife, I owe a lot to her for, being there with me, for me, and pushing me and, supporting me. If this is what you want, Jeff, great. But, the Lord had other plans for us. So, there were some challenges, but it was opportunity to grow. Right.
And you mentioned something great, and I'm taking this away from sports, is that we all try to put our plan in front of God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't met one person yet whose plan has worked out better than God's plan. And I'm at fault for it too. I've tried to put my plan before his plan to try to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I've failed 100 out of 100 times. And that's when you just kind of give up and give in and say, okay, well, we'll just do it your way because my way is failing.
Yeah.
Because you're in control, because I've tried it my way and it's just not happening. And so it's an aha moment And I think Tiffany hit the nail right on the head. It's something over a period of time, learning who you truly are as an individual. For me, like once I had my first, second, third, fourth, after my 10th knee surgery, before I got my titanium legs, now I was the fastest kid on the field. Now I can't even run anymore. And that's testing my faith now, because now I'm healed up, but I no longer can run. But I think about my younger days of like, man, I was like Grease Lightning, I was that kid,
Wow.
and now I can't even run to the mailbox. But that's still testing my faith, because I'm going back thinking, like, how did I get from A to here? And I no longer can run. And
Yeah.
without God's understanding and guidance, He's led me into ministry. He's led me into the food pantries. He's led me into working with inner city kids who haven't had the opportunity, who can't get out of their environment. And I'm like, I still try to get out there and do it. Like, I can't physically, but I will still try to do it. But yeah, but I think where our faith is always tested, and I think just over the last several years, with things happening in the world, and things happening currently in the world,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people's faith is being tested.
Yeah, constantly, right? Not just in baseball, in life general. Since I got done playing, we went through the process of what do we do next? Do we try to stay in baseball? Do I go back to school? My wife's pregnant with our second kid. We landed a job with scouting. And then after scouting, right? Like, we went through the same thing, transition. Now I have 3 kids. I've got two girls and a boy. Such a fun season. They're all under 7 and under, 7, 5, and 3. Now, we're in a different season of, do you trust me? This is the second season I'm with the Barnstormers, which is going to be fantastic. But the Lord, it's a constant battle for myself and my experience and my journey, to be honest, and saying, like, my natural bent is to want to do things my way and to trust my abilities. But like you said, 100 out of 100 times, it never works, so when am I going to learn? Right. So that is a constant process of, learning and growing, and it'll never end. So I'm excited for what's to come, but yeah.
Go ahead, Tiff.
I was just going to ask, what advice do you have for, it could be younger athletes that are going into sports and trying to do professional sports, or it could just be young adults coming out with big dreams and goals. I'm sure you have some good words of advice for them.
Good words. I mean, maybe debatable, but my thing is, and in the season that I'm in, sports it's a game to have fun, right? Like, not everyone gets to experience playing at the professional level. I believe that you should have the highest of goals for yourself and to strive to be the best that you can be, and to give it everything you got. So whatever that goal is of yours, if you want to play, be on the varsity team in high school, have that high expectation, that goal. If you want to play college sport or whatever it is, set that goal. If you want to play professionally, go for it. But know that at the end of the day, everyone takes the jersey off and the game passes by, right? And that's where I'm at. My jersey's been taken off. I'm done playing. I can't go out. I was jumping on the trampoline with my kids today thinking, man, I can't do this like I used to.
You can't do the triple Indy anymore.
My kids are trying to do flips and rolls, and I try to keep up with them, but man, I got to be careful I don't hurt myself now. But set your goals high, go for them. But while you do them, have fun, right? Because these moments don't last forever. And so that's just what I would say to you today. Go with it with all you have fun, and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Great. That wasn't just good. That was great. I loved it. I think that they need to give themselves grace, right? Like, have those goals and give yourself grace that, you know, like God's plan is going to take you where you're going to go, as you guys mentioned earlier. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things too is like for the youth to understand that it does take a lot of hard work. It does take education. You do have to put in time. You do have to put in the sacrifice. Um, One thing that I will say to anybody who's in professionals or all actresses or actors, whatever it may be, CEOs, it's a blessing and a curse. It's truly a blessing and a curse because you have this thing that you've achieved, but yet like you said, the jersey will come off one day. You will have to walk away from this one day. You have to have a plan B, C, D, E, F. Because you just never know how God's going to take your course, not the course that you chose. You know, there is a curse in success. Um, there is a curse in success because people don't realize that, and they probably think I'm crazy by saying that. But when you're so successful, you can't be like me and just go and hang out at the grocery store. You know what I mean? And talk for hours. So you're living in a box. You're living, you know. But the most important thing is um, making a difference, in life, putting God first, and everything else will come into play, and your plan in life will fall into place. And when I'm going to go back to Leslie Wyrick, whose son was a prestige athlete, went to Wabash College, was a football player. Unfortunately, he took his life. And not only did he take his life, another friend on his team took his life as well too, at Wabash College. And it's a tragedy, and our hearts go out to the Hanson family and to the Walrick family and to all those families, because it is a family. So kids, the youth, I stress that you don't put that much stress on yourself. Enjoy it, and when it becomes no longer fun, um, that's when you have to start thinking, is this really for me? And I know that when I played in high school and then off to the college level, uh, I realized that even at the college level, I stopped having fun playing football because high school, it's fun. But when you get to collegiate level, or like I said, in your case, drafted, it becomes a business. And
Yeah.
it's like real quick, it becomes a business. And it's a major eye opener. And I remember calling my father up and saying, "Hey, I don't want to play football anymore. I'm not. This isn't fun." But then I said, then knee injury set in, God set in, and I am really glad to intervene in my life because I've been able to plant more seeds and touch more lives than I probably would ever have, um, being a football player, you know.
Yeah, and I can relate to that too. Towards the end of my career, I still enjoyed it, but in 2016, it got to the point where I wasn't enjoying. I wasn't having much fun anymore, and I lost the desire to compete and try to be better than the person next to me. So at that time, we experienced just like the absolute total peace that we felt like was from God, because before, when we were trying to make the decision what to do, we didn't have that peace. And in 2016, after the season, we had it, and we knew it was from the Lord, and we could then rest in making that decision and be excited about what was next. And I think that allowed me, as I had mentioned, I'd scouted for 4 years right when I got done playing. So I was at the baseball field every day, sometimes watching guys that I played with, but I was fine with that. I know a lot of guys who would have really struggled with that and struggle when they're done playing. But I truly believe that the Lord gave us a peace that you're done, that we were able to live and be in the game of baseball still, and know that and be excited in the role that I was at, instead of wishing I was still playing. And I mean, I still miss playing at times, right? But like, not like some of these other guys do. The Lord did a work in us, and we moved on. So,
and I just want to bring up, because I know you're extremely busy, and I know speaking from my lips to God's ears, I know you and I touched about it earlier, but there is something that you're trying to put in the works together for the youth kids. Can you just talk a little bit about that? And then, like I said, we can have maybe like from our lips to God's ears, it'll come to fruition.
Yeah. So we're in this process, kind of tying everything together, right? About giving God control, right? Like, and not holding so tight to something and trying to carve out our own path, which I've done way too many times. And we've got to the point where we're like, open arms, Lord, where do you want us? Like, what do you want us to do? This season, we're excited to be back with the Barnstormers, but we do also are excited about a possible opportunity to have an impact on other athletes' lives, specifically youth playing baseball. We have a vision of sharing the gospel with others through sport, through baseball. And so we are looking into the possibility of maybe opening a baseball academy of some sort, and having it impact and influence on others' lives. Like, that's what it's about, right? And so that's what we're kind of working through now. We're getting excited about possibly the opportunity in the fall of where the Lord's leading us. But I contribute a lot of who I am today, obviously, to the Lord, my wife, but there have been people who have poured into me. And if I can do a fraction of what some of those people have done for me, that's what I get excited about. Sports, they don't last forever, right? But you can make an impact in someone's lives that would, maybe change the course forever for that person. So.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, Tiff.
Oh no, it's incredible. I don't know enough details about it, but I'm already thinking about Emma. I'm like, oh, maybe one day I can get her. We've been talking about getting her into baseball. So I'm planning to try to do something local here this season, or like the summer season for her. But anyways, we're excited to hear more. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing for the youth if it comes to fruition, if it's God's plan. It sounds amazing, and I love the fact that you guys are integrating faith into something so beneficial for kids in sports. So that's amazing.
Appreciate that. And throughout my career and life, right, like, there's more than one way to share the gospel, right? There's times of speaking, definitely, but then also it's how you act, how you live, what you do, what you don't do, what you say, sometimes what you don't say, that has an impact. And so we're excited for what's to come. We're excited for the season and what's to come after the season.
And I just want to close up with the fact that you mentioned all the people that poured into your life to make you who you are. I think of all the people that poured into my life to make me who I am, and Tiffany could probably say the same exact thing. And I always say it's the same oil, just different vessels. And it's the same oil in different vessels. And and being a coach or being a mentor or being a youth leader, I mean, it's the oil that you've learned from many generations before us that we're pouring into and planting seeds. Some that we'll get to see harvest, and some will never get to see harvest. But we really need to focus on teaching kids today what it is to be on the field, off the field ethics, and not like at dollar signs. Because God giveth, God taketh, just this quick. And but like you said, but you made a great point about your ethics off the field are just as important as they are on the field. And like I said, but I couldn't leave without saying I want to thank all the people who poured into your life to be able to be here today. I want to thank all the people who's poured into my life. And I'm sure Tiffany would thank all the people who poured into her life to make this Saturday morning podcast work. And we're truly blessed and honored to have you. And I know that you're out there doing your thing. We'll be out there yelling at the games And, if every time somebody strikes out, we won't blame you.
Hey, I'm not the one striking out here. Okay? But yeah, absolutely. Come check us out. I mean, it's a great time. It's awesome.
We will. So, Tiff, any closing words?
I just want to also give kudos and thank you to your wife and your kids too, because I know that they were an amazing impact to be able to make your story, your life success as well. And just, thank you for them giving you the time to spend with us today as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. And I know that your plan will come together.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.